Hello there everyone and welcome back. It has been a few weeks and I'm itching to try and at least get back to some multiplayer games of Battlefield Gothic, although, well, since the end of the Steam sale there may still be a few opponents, but it will quickly dwindle down, I imagine, for if nothing else this would probably be the calm before the storm, since we are about, what, a month and a half roughly, assuming Armada 2 does not get delayed into at least having access to the the multiplayer beta. So I'm hopeful we could still get at least a couple matches in, a couple of videos for you all to enjoy in preparation for its release. That's the hope anyway. But I also made a couple of extra tweaks to kind of help alleviate a little bit of the stasis bomb bug, and that I swapped over the Imperial Navy Favour on my two tyrants here for Adeptus Mechanicus, simply so I can at least feel the micro warp jumps on there. In all honesty, I couldn't really figure out what kind of upgrade slot I want to use for them. It was either a mix between the extended range on the macro cans, which is a bit weird, since I'm never going to be able to fully utilize the 1500 or 15,000 range on my plasma macro cans, but it would be essential, at least for the regular macro cans, so that way they can be useful for at least long range type of fights in, say, like against Chaos or even Tau that are trying to avoid me. So, for the time being, I decided to go with this extended sensors, and the reason that's useful, since it doesn't actually want to show me the description here, I think that's another bug based on the favor itself, but that allows me to jump further with the micro warp jump. Simply put, it is also useful for detecting ships in case my Cobras were destroyed for the Imperial Navy Favor, or if I lose my Widowmaker, so it's an additional, like, redundancy issue for helping keep me getting reliable sensor contact with a long-range base fleet. So that's the idea anyway. I don't really care for it otherwise, but it does help with the micro warp jump nonetheless, since these tyrants are probably going to be positioned in the middle of my fleet, whereas the overlords will have sitting on the outside a little bit more, so the extended range is not as essential there. Since the tyrants, or at least the ships that are in the middle, are going to be hindered a tiny bit because of their proximity to other ships if they're trying to get evasive. But let's get back into the fray, see if we get some different adversaries or not. Well, isn't this interesting? I don't know if I ever played this opponent before, but we're facing off against Abaddon. We kicked his ass in the campaign, why not try and do it in the multiplayer as well? It is, of course, Chaos, so I'm possibly dealing with a lot of stasis bombs. Do I want the retribution for this? Again, the shields are handy for at least deterring beacons sticking on my ship and putting me on a back foot in the early offsets of the battle, but I like the firepower of the overlords as well in the tyrants. It has really good close range punch, it gives me more lances to work with, and if I use my shield transfers right, it's just as good as what the retribution can do. It's just spread out a little bit more. I mentioned this before in a previous battle against Chaos, how I like the retribution for that reason. This makes it a little more trickier, and it depends on the skill and the levels of this Chaos fleet as well. If it's not quite fully optimized, then I have a really good chance there, especially with the torpedoes maybe doing some damage as well. Big question, do I spread out so that way I get a better arc? Kind of like a similar spread formation like what I did against Blue in my last episode, my last attempt. That's what I'm so curious about, because it does involve more work in controlling this fleet, especially if you have to turn side by side there. I'm not quite sure just yet. I think I'm going to leave it like this and let it just play it by ear. I'll start moving them normally at first. I probably should start turning to the left to make use of that gas cloud. It would be a good fallback point, since I mentioned it plenty of times before. I don't think I mentioned it since I started playing Imperial Navy this time around, is that I have really good bullying potential to kind of force Chaos where he doesn't want to, and I put all that effort in that movement, and I immediately ruined it. Oh well. Let's give this a try. Do what damage we can. And I can't. At least if I'm moving to the side, at least I'm not going to worry about my fleet converging too quickly. I just got to make use of his torpedoes. I really should reload as well, because not only does this help the torpedoes, since I'm using micro warp jumps now. Yeah, it does reduce the cooldown on that, so I have easier access to it sooner. Ooh, Despoiler, or Desolator rather. I gotta keep that in mind. since I am going to need to take evasive maneuvers on this thing. At least one of my cruisers is going to have to take evasive maneuvers. Which one is going to need to move? Basically the two tyrants in the middle there. Ooh, and we did get some damage I just heard to repair, despite it being muted in the distance. I just don't know what we're hitting. And at least one devastation maybe? Not really a stig. So this is looking amazingly promising for me. Even more so, he doesn't have a mission dissipator. So we get to see everything. We get to target everything. Oh my god, look at the damage potential already on that one. What is it? Is that the slaughter? Not a fully upgraded fleet, but still formidable. Oh boy, I misjudged the torpedoes a tiny bit, alas. So this is not going to work very well. Oh, I did shoot down, so I got a little lucky. And I think I should do a wide torpedo arc in this case, since he's just freely boosting sideways. I think that's what I want to do, in case they turn around, because you can see he's already preparing for that. Abaddon's already preparing for his play, so let's abuse it. And since I'm already spread out, at least this formation, the torpedo arc should be really damn good. If Abaddon's paying attention though, then they'd be able to find the windows to dodge the torpedoes really easily by flying through the middle. But I would love to capitalize on this one crippled slaughter. It is a slaughter, right? Yes. It is a slaughter. I saw the Acheron as part of the fleet, so I wasn't certain if that was the one I damaged or not. Ooh, more damage. I like it. Good hits on the devastation. Two fighters are not doing the job, alas. Let's get ready to dodge these torpedoes with that said. Keep turning, keep going. I don't even need this Widowmaker with how you're not making it easy for me to kind of see you. Although, I don't really need the vision so much just yet. It's when I'm about to get in combat range that's important. And it's like I said before, Widowmaker doesn't need to be up front, since it's really susceptible to getting killed by the lances after all, especially when we're talking about an Acheron and a Desolator, which both have really good lance batteries to immediately kill this thing, especially with some lucky critical hits. It's convenient that this thing was aiming at the Widowmaker though, I gotta say, and it allows my ships to kind of regroup a bit. I gotta again keep an eye on my torpedoes to keep it a nice good flow, good rhythm, so that way I'm maximizing the potential as often as I can. Here comes the micro warp jump, interesting. Well, give me some free fire. I will happily take it. Let's unload a torpedo barrage to greet you now. Continuous onslaught. There's the stasis bomb I'm dreading, but I do have micro warp jump now, and the auger disruptors thankfully did not really do anything. Do I boost? I'm tempted boosting with this thing. I don't know if it's a good idea or not, in all seriousness, since I'm going to take a lot of damage. I may as well just hold fire. I could just take that really well. I don't know if the supercharged void shield is going to work or not in this regard. And because of, like I said earlier, micro warp jump's a bit of an issue, I am holding fire with you, so I think I can freely just leave you sitting there for now. I am a bit spread out is the catch. Unload, shoot the torpedoes, get everything converge and do some damage. And I'm about to have torpedoes coming up, so I need support. The fact I'm spread out can be a huge liability if I do this wrong. So boost on up. Do what damage you can, because this is an amazing start for an engagement, I gotta say. And hopefully my tyrant shooting down those bombers for me, at least helping to contribute. At least that Cobra sure as hell is. Come on, pincer and kill. This looks like it might be a massacre right now. Especially if I get the ram on any of those crippled ships. Although that Nurgle is going to be annoying. Never mind, I take that back. Our adversaries already conceded a little bit of defeat, aside for the one micro warp jump they just decide to do. And because this Desolator also micro warp jump, they're not getting out anytime soon. So we're not going to play with our food, we're just going to go straight for this killing blow, ideally. I need a better arc though, with that said. You, on the other hand, are going to deal with the one that, for some reason, decide to micro warp jump on the retreat. I don't know if that was actually intentional or not. But hunt this thing down, kill it. Fire a couple torpedoes for good measure. This is a nice little stomp, mainly because my opponent was letting too many torpedoes hit. Is that fair criticism there? Since we massacred the one slaughter really damn early. Never mind all the damage we did on the Desolator. So there's skill difference for you. I want to argue at least. I want to argue, since you sync with all the other Chaos matchups I had and the difficulty I had in some cases, that, yeah, torpedoes are definitely a big factor, since really, Chaos are basically forfeiting some really good prow weaponry on most of their ships, the majority of their ships, except for like the despoiler, in exchange for like the longer range and more lances, whereas my macro batteries are kind of comparable in most cases against Chaos. They just have better range, but they have less damage potential, or less burst, I guess is what I mean to say. They have faster rate of fire, and I have the superior armor and the torpedoes to complement them.
Your orders?
So I like to think that's a good display of the skill difference. A mission dissipator, the lack of, it's not really all that big of a deal, since I can't capitalize on it the best anyway, since my torpedoes don't rely on targeting all that much. And I had the Widowmaker to kind of negate that one factor of utilizing my maximum potential than plasma macro batteries. So aside for poor control in the Widowmaker, that's not really a factor anyway. Only case the sensor range is really useful is, in all honesty, every other faction. Chaos especially, since they don't have the Widowmaker, they are relegated to 7,500 unit range with their sensors at most, unless they use some beacons. So I'm really curious to see how is Tindalos actually going to commit to something like a Widowmaker extended sensors on one of their ships or not. It would dynamically, drastically change how Chaos plays for Armada 2 if they do that. That is a fair assumption because they got like the easiest weapons, at least for hitting targets. Since it always hits, you can't really dodge them, which is a huge problem for like my frigates, of course. I already said how the Widowmaker could get sniped so easily, which is why I try hiding it behind my cruisers. Since again, the sensor range pairs up perfectly with the plasma macro batteries just because of that extra 500 unit range. I can literally have it sit behind my cruisers, and if I'm aware enough to not get this thing rammed and killing and dying to one of my own cruiser collisions, then it could spot the same time I get within macro battery range, which is a perfect combination there with almost no risk at all. It just requires a little bit of awareness. Well, I remember the name of Sadios. I just don't have, for the life of me, actually remember what he utilizes there. Since it's definitely not the one who's kind of like using the gimmicks of Vanguards trying to kite and boring torpedo me all day. I think this is a much older opponent in comparison to that. With that said, Space Marines are still going to be a bit of a pain. I'm going to be relying heavily on my armor-piercing rounds up close when I can get aggressive, and obviously my torpedoes to best effect. It is what it really comes down to. So and also Dictator's amazingly valuable for us too, so I just don't know what I want to throw in, because if I remember correctly, the points do line up decently. Oh, and this is 600 points too, I gotta keep in mind. That may be something I'm overlooking a tiny bit. I was going with the mindset that this was a 700 point battle, to an extent. And I think I'd rather have the 2 firestorms for this. We know where Convoy is, I do actually have a beacon to force an engagement, since sticking it on his fleet may not be a big deal. This is going to be something a little bit different for me though. The firestorms will be good still for the Convoy, for hunting him down if he keeps them isolated or separates them from his main fleet, and they contribute nicely, at least piercing the armor of any battle barges or any ships he may have. Never mind the fact that they always are going to hit, so they're going to be useful for any Vanguard or kiting strategy Sadios might be doing. So everything may go well for me, it's just a question of the layout, which really is pretty basic otherwise. I'm the only one with the gas cloud, at least at first, until somehow they get up to my point. And I don't even think I can utilize this the best anyway, as far as like misdirection, since I do kind of need to spread out anyway, for the sake of the convoy. And I've got to keep in mind too that these things don't actually have extended sensors. I may have overlooked that thought a tiny bit. And I don't actually have my tires to kind of be like the fallback extended sensors either. But I think we're okay. I just gotta see what his layout is, keep these all grouped together, ideally, if I can get away with it. Since I am kind of spread a little bit too much, I'd rather have them closer to the dictator for the convenience of the fighters that are going to defend me. And I might as well burn retros immediately so I can start firing torpedoes out. Don't know what to seriously expect just yet. It is 600 points, so traditionally it'll be a battle barge, 2 strike cruisers maybe. Or Stasis might go with something a little bit lighter. It remains to be seen though. It remains to be seen. I'm expecting strike cruisers and battle barge. Maybe 4 strike cruisers. That can be difficult to play with. Really good at dodging torpedoes, but you don't have the bombardment cannon numbers. Not as much as like a battle barge anyway. More bombardment cannons that way, you'd possibly get a chapter master. Well, realistically, chapter master probably be better with a strike cruiser, just since you can have it in place for more different fleet compositions anyway. Remains to be seen. What is our opponent doing? What is our opponent doing? I am looking intently at the minimap since they're not right up yet, so I don't want to be caught off guard for... Okay. That's fine. So he's heavily spread out, and this is a frigate swarm, interestingly enough. Vanguards and strike cruisers. This is going to be odd, needless to say, and I can deal with these torpedoes. I just was turned the wrong way. Now let's get moving. Ooh, you're going to fire the firestorm. I don't mind with assault run. I'm okay with that. I just got to figure out where... So this is like frigates and vanguards, oddly enough. Oddly enough. I probably didn't need the... I only need to destroy 4 convoy ships, and guess what? There's all 4 right over here. So we're going to focus our attention over here. Maybe have this one Nova snipe one on the right there. But I know my priority. At least I know what my plan is. So let's start chipping them down. Get this thing ready to start getting aggressive, and I'm assuming the rest are frigates. And I have fighters, I have bombers to help deal with these too. So let's correct this mistake quickly. And ideally, fire good torpedo salvos to help with this. Keep an eye on this firestorm here, although they're just a bunch of frigates, not a big deal just yet. And armor-piercing rounds will make this simple. Oh yeah, the Stasis definitely has lower level. Only level 3, so I guess this is the one... I guess he hasn't played in a while. It actually has been probably a notable amount of time since I engaged them. So this might become a bit of a stomp really damn quickly then. I have armor-piercing rounds, so I'm not too worried just yet. I need to engage this convoy. So let's turn our attention to this. This thing should be dead in a moment. And I do have brace for impact, so it's not a big deal just yet. We just need to kill the strike cruiser. Come on, fly into him for me. Thank you. Didn't do near as much damage as I like. But your Vanguard is not doing much. I kind of neglected you some, and you're getting shot at by boring torpedoes too, which doesn't do us much favors. But we're going to engage, we're going to destroy these frigates as quickly as possible, and I think... And I gotta be mindful, you're going to be annoying, aren't you, with the dang Thunderhawks. Since if you get a lucky critical hit, that's going to be painful. Now, knock these things off course. If I kill one, that'd be great. If the Firestorm could kill both, that'd be even better. Unlikely to happen, though. And once these things start exploding, that's going to help a ton, too. Since they have a high likeliness of exploding, with that said. And these are all frigates, anyway, so I can easily boost in there. Although I just used all my combustion gauge on that poor thing. So it's not going to happen yet. But I think it's safe to say this is over. Just waiting for a Void explosion now. To kind of set this up. I'm assuming it's a Void explosion, right? There. This is all but over. We got autocast, we got boarding backup. It's a tough mission. It's a but I think I just straight up outgunned you for the aggressive play. There isn't a whole lot you could do, at least straight up.
Enemy transport ship destroyed.
Although, let's not get carried away. Oh, yeah, never mind. They're exploding for me. Lance turrets are going to finish the job up. I thought we were a lot closer to the end of the map than otherwise. Convoy can be brutal, but only if you go with that kamikaze route. I feel like you have to play really safe and use the convoy to your advantage by splitting up the enemy fleet. Since if they clump up, then they are leaving themselves vulnerable to being outnumbered. Well, if they clump up, then you can sneak the convoy out and put a lot of pressure on them, even with like a single or two convoys. Especially if you're like a very mobile fleet that can sort of evade coming to an engagement. It can be tricky with the convoy, even for Eldar, with how slow they are. But putting pressure on your opponent is definitely key to open up like any windows, whether they spread out or if they try and get zealous. They dive right into your main fleet, only to get at maybe a single convoy if you do it right. And then everything else is sneaking on by, and then their combustion gauge is probably burnt or really well spent, which makes it incredibly difficult for them to chase up and as even as slow as the conveyors, if executed properly. We'll see if we get a rematch with Assados though. Well, we're getting our fight against Assados again there, this time an assassination which goes a little bit better for Assados, but I do at least have the Dictator to help a ton in that regard. I like to think so. My last assassination attempt went horribly there, mainly for a lot of weird reasons. Do I? I don't need a Widowmaker so much, I still have the beacon. I would like the point defense option though to help deal with torpedoes, so Firestorm might be more valuable here. Again, I do have a beacon when they get in close. Unless Assados tries to play a very passive route, which works in my favor. If he's really intimidated from the one beacon I throw to identify him, then it gives me more time to just warp on out. And a battleship is going to be really hard to deal with. More point defense, a lot more health. It's just, the boarding torpedoes are going to be the big problem, because without a doubt they're going to be coming relentlessly. And there's not much I could do about that aside for making sure Dictator's in the proper place to maximize at least the potential of the fighters. The point defense aren't going to do a whole lot since they're only going to get one salvo shot off. So how do I best want to do this? I do have debris here, which at least limits where I don't even think the AI pathing will allow me to fly in that little opening, to be honest. But I like the potential. I'm just not familiar enough using celestial bodies to kind of block torpedo shots is the problem. And I don't have a whole lot of firepower myself either, which is going to be an issue. Actually, I want the Dictator as far forward as possible. Shoot down these torpedoes and stall. Firestorm, I don't know what exactly I want to do with you, but we'll try. Okay, it will let me try to go in there. But
at your command.
Remains to be seen. This is what? 4 fan... All I see is 2 Vanguards, 2 strike cruisers. That doesn't mean much yet. Does not mean much just yet, but if the Celestial Body can at least soak some of the shots, that's handy. That's really helpful. I want to make sure my Retro or my Dictator's in the best spot possible, even if these torpedoes aren't going to block the shots necessary. And he's not boosting it aggressively, which is fine by me. Just gives me so much more time to at least let the warp jump come back up. You definitely need to be aggressive, and those Dictators fighters are doing work already. Dealing with the one strike cruiser's torpedoes, shooting down a second wave almost. And now, does the Celestial Body block? It does, for now. Although we did take a lucky hit on the dang tyrant here. Oh god, this is gonna get ugly.
Your orders.
I want these things to block shots. I don't want them to take the shots, though. That's the difference between what I'm trying to do here.
Awaiting orders.
Although, if we kill a frigate, that's going to be handy, and I have bombers, which I could also, if I timed it right, position myself right, can also contribute in shooting down these torpedoes really well as a bonus. Now, beacon, identify these 2, maybe kill off this 1 frigate.
Understood.
And I am identified, so let's get going. Maybe shoot down some of the strike fighters and... Oh, I boosted after I got identified, so hopefully I could dodge this. I dodged the bombardment can barely. Can we kill at least the 1 Gladius? At least limit his firepower some. since I'm not going to be in a good position to deal
Underway.
with these boarding torpedoes, since my fighters are kind of AWOL right now.
Resuming normal
Oh,
function.
I misjudged and did the torpedo run really badly there. But got a good torpedo hit regardless. I'll save the repair until absolutely necessary, since I don't think I'm going to use my proud torpedoes just yet on the retribution. And you got hit by torpedoes? Oh, they're boarding torpedoes, remember.
Cruising speed set.
And they always do hull breaches or fire assaults. It's been a while, I guess. I feel out of date to a vague extent. I want to refresh fighters. It's... Oop. I gotta remember, dang stasis bomb's gonna be a pain in the ass.
Engines hot.
But if Thanos wants to glitch his own ships, that's fine. I'll give him the honors. I wasn't hoping to maybe
Your orders.
keep burning so much combustion gauge though. But now that our ship's isolated, it's gonna stink.
Understood.
Is there a way I can kill these off still?
Orders.
I could dodge some torpedoes, not very well. I have engines, let's get ready for the repairs.
Initiate emergency repairs.
Can I at least kill off one of these strike cruisers really damn quickly?
Ship ready.
I do have a micro warp jump. I think I'm going to commit to the micro warp jump with some...
Targeting enemy vessel.
Since the idea is I don't realistically expect to be able to get a warp out with boarding coming out in a moment. So let's do something sneaky here. Kill something off. This is definitely going to cost me to a huge, heavy extent. But I got still a trick up my sleeve. And I was hoping maybe to rotate this. Rotate and get block for my retribution, which is still a valid strategy. Have the dictator take the shots. Since I still have armor-piercing rounds, I can ram these ships to good effect. And killed. Can I turn? Okay, I turned and not hit my own tyrant. That's a plus. And remember, I have armor-piercing rounds, and he has no chapter master, so this should still go well for me in theory. Gotta minimize the damage on this ship. Is the only catch.
Resuming normal function.
Come on, torpedoes, don't let me down.
Activating tactical cogitators.
And sadly, you're too close for torpedoes from the retribution. So we're committing full on to this. You are about dead, though. One good broadside's all I need, and I forgot that you're holding fire. That may be a lot of my problem there. At least it didn't bug out the macro cannons, since I need them more than anything right now
Understood.
for winning this match.
Activating tactical cogitators.
Now turn around, block, protect the retribution. And now we got a prime torpedo arc ready for us. Goodbye. Good riddance.
Ship ready.
Cobra, you're still alive? I may have just shot at my own ship, unintentionally. So let's correct that and use it to our advantage.
Imperial escort destroyed.
There, Satos. You thought I was going to hit myself? Well, thankfully those two torpedoes hit you.
Course plotted.
Just gotta finish this. Replenish the shields, because I kind of forgot I had shield transfer to an extent. I'll let that live.
Enemy vessel.
I'll let it live.
Underway.
Give him that benefit. Now, let's focus on our Vanguard until he decides to warp it out as well.
Your orders.
Now, unload everything.
All guns fire at will.
Destroy with all the weaponry you have to muster, although it is braced for impact, and I'm not quite 3,000 range, right? Actually, I am. I'm using the boarding to kind of get a rough idea.
Orders.
Since the boarding range is what? The boarding range, rather, is like 2250 as opposed to 3,000, but it's close enough to at least know when I'm in range. Don't do that. Please don't be that kind of person. It's not very pleasant, especially when I have lances shooting at you. I'm waiting.
Underway.
Yep, he's gonna be that person. I'm sorry, Asatos.
Activating tactical.
It's not gonna end well for you.
Setting
Now let's get
course.
this thing caught up so at least the bombers could be useful.
At your command. Course plotted.
And I didn't even prioritize any components,
Yes, Admiral.
but the Dictator's gonna be important regardless. Yes, hit him with the lances. Hit him with the lances. I do have extended sensors on the Tyrant, so this is the one case where having extended sensors is really damn valuable.
Cease fire.
Alright. They caught on. Sort of. Maybe Stasis was waiting till he got into the gas cloud, although I hate to break it to him, it's not helping. But you get your experience in. I will give you that, at least. And maybe our next match, if I get another rematch with him, will be the actual cruiser clash, since I haven't seen a battle barge just yet. And to be fair, it probably would be a lower level, maybe level 1 worst case, for us trying to get a nice entertaining battle in. But still no joke with 75 armor all around. If I ever expect to do actual damage with my macro cannons, I need to be within the armor piercing range. Otherwise, it's going to be the lances and torpedoes carrying me through more often than not. Since even my ramming with the energy ram, or the powered ram, I forget what it's called, is still going to do crap for damage, especially when you consider a chapter master possibly being on the field. And if that's trained, then ramming macro cannons without the armor-piercing rounds are going to do absolutely no damage. It's going to be a drawn-out and very scary fight with the bombardment cannon risk of just getting all the critical hits he wants. That's the real risk, and thankfully, with shield transfers, making good use of the supercharged forward shield, and even the shield recharge on the retribution, I can alleviate that a lot, since I need to remind people in case you don't know that fact, if the shields are up, it's impossible for me to suffer critical hit damage. And especially with the bombardment cannons and anything with high crit chance. So that's my main strategy with all these shield upgrades, at least against Space Marines. It's really helpful when that's a big factor, but I only really pay attention to that when I'm facing off against a battle barge, never mind 2. Well, if nothing else, this is time to put my money where my mouth is. With the convoy I talked about earlier. Yeah, it is a bit of the calm before a storm, I think I even said that already in my intro. We're getting really, at least potentially really close to Armada 2, outside the fact of them delaying it anyway. Now, do I want Widowmakers? I like the firepower is kind of warranted, but I am also the defender in Convoy. So like I said, time to put my money where my mouth is. Dictator's going to be hard-pressed to defend everything. But we'll see what we can do. I can use the Firestorms as bait if I really want to, since I at least have 2 frigates that serves as compelling enough target, at least. It just comes down to the layouts, making sure the convoy is spread out heavily, since boring torpedoes are going to be a pain in the ass to micromanage once they get detected anyway. If they're still hitting, that's not a huge issue until a ship's right on them. We'll see if this goes better for me than for Stasis. Although to be fair, I gotta remember, Stasis does have bonus points, maybe. Maybe. Since all these battles have been 600 points and you can get these kind of 600 point battles for being Admiral level 5, I think. As almost down as low as that. Since Admiral level 4, or Admiral level 3 is like 400 point battles and then rapidly goes to 500 point battles at Admiral level 4. So he could have a big point advantage that I could be overlooking for this encounter. Which might bite me in the ass since I have no way to realistically know what to expect. And I almost want to put my Firestorms over here, but I don't want to do that. Let's use the Firestorms as the most ideal bait. And to help complete the ruse a little bit with these convoy, I'm going to have 3 over there. And it's just spread out these ones here some. At least a little bit. It helps if I rotate them some. Bit of a weird mix-up, but if I pay attention to them, that's not an issue. Since I don't think I'm going to hotkey them aside for these ones, because their pathing is already going to be preset. And I guess that explains why Stasis took so long to deploy in the first battle with him, since after all he was trying to manage an entire fleet of frigates and light cruisers.
Engines hot. Burn
So more
retros.
frigates swarm. I want to go after the cruisers, ideally. And I do have a dictator.
Ship ready.
I do have the dictator at least. Let's try and get moving.
Acknowledged.
Force them to split up and spread around.
Burn
I gotta
retros.
remember to burn retros with the Firestorms, at least make it more compelling that they're for the conveyors. If nothing else, help with that ruse. Oh, and you're not even the gas cloud. Are you seriously not in the gas cloud? That's a bit of a huge shame. That was overlooked, as much as it was.
Orders. Cruising speed set.
It's only 2 conveyors, but I'm gonna have to respond to that seriously now.
Understood.
Oh, and I didn't even get both my Firestorms in that group? That's weird. Well, this is not going well.
At your command.
I can at least start evading, get these conveyors safe. Since they do have emission dissipators, right? Yeah, I gave him mission dissipators, so... Get on moving. Yeah, he's just going for a swarm. And you're in the... Damn it. This is really messed up now.
Yes, Admiral.
Why does it have to be stasis bombs? Of all the things, I do not want to deal with stasis bombs.
Going silent.
But
At your command.
if I can get out, then I'm okay. It's not a big deal yet.
Activating tactical cogitators.
And I have a mission dissipator, so I just gotta cripple these things up.
Cruising speed set.
And use the firestorms to my greatest advantage. Maybe to be distracting.
Resuming normal functions.
And ideally, don't burn my cogitators too much. Although I think I'm okay, I got permission to burn everything. Let's do this. That engine's gone, that thing's dead. Oh my god, you are so damn lucky. 6 torpedoes and only 1 actually did damage without a brace for impact. Clearly, now I'm convinced someone's hacking. I mean that in the playful way. I'm not serious about that, mind you. In case you're wondering.
Yes, Admiral.
And I gotta remember, I have 50 armor on the prow, so I should take full advantage of that and cripple these heavily.
Awaiting orders.
And the firestorms
Engines hot.
are gonna be essential here.
Awaiting orders.
Now get moving. Oh, did I burn my own... Was that me using the cogitators? That's unfortunate. I was hoping not.
At your command.
These things gotta turn around and use their prow. That armor is really damn valuable here.
Ready.
I'm gonna wait until the shields come off or down first, though, to make that even more likely to be effective. They have 50 armor, though, and these things are likely gonna die. But again, 50 armor. Take full advantage of that.
Understood.
Bombers are about to come up. They may even help deal with these torpedoes some, if I'm so lucky.
Underway.
Damn amazing hits there.
Your orders. Engines hot.
There, we are looking pretty. Can you kill this thing, though? Since this is, again, a frigate swarm. Couple lances. Oh.
Orders received.
They are sadly dead, but they're heavily damaging the frigates as well. Only downside is I kind of neglected... Did you... Oh, man, that was some scary. I saw a full explosion on that cruiser, and I was worried it killed my transport.
Ship ready.
Come on, rotate. You're supposed to be facing towards these things, because I know you have only 25 armor.
Burn retro.
Oh, it's because your fire arc is not prow-based. That's something I'm going to have to change some.
At your command.
I gotta keep an eye on the count.
Yes, Admiral.
This conveyor is going to be a bit of a pain to try and defend, but at least my firestorms are in the way.
Orders. Ship ready.
This is almost a victory. Just keep the prow and kill these gladiuses, most importantly.
Orders received.
Shields are back up, almost, but damn.
Retro.
A whole breach with a tiny macro turret is really terrifying.
Full. Cruising speed set.
And it may just kill me right now. I could still lose this.
Awaiting orders.
He has to destroy 4 conveyors, actually, so I have 2 right here. And I have bombers to help in this regard, some. And fires...
Resuming normal functions.
Those frigates are gone, what's left to get destroyed? These 2. These 2 conveyors cannot die. Thankfully, there's only one direction he can go from.
Engines to maximum. Resuming
Oh, I have another
normal
conveyor over
functions.
here too I wasn't aware of. So let's play it safe, play it proper. I have lances to easily kill these things off. Lances will help nicely, especially if these torpedoes hit.
At your command.
And I used up all my tactical cogitators, didn't I?
Orders received.
Let's do this, let's kill him.
Awaiting orders.
Since I do have bombers, that will help, but so long as he's running away from me, it's going to be tricky to do that. I'm relying almost exclusively on lances.
We are the Imperial Navy. At your command.
This looks like it might be a victory. I gotta play smart. Most importantly, do not fly into a mine. It's the big thing.
Setting course.
And hope my lances could do the damage needed. Macro cannons could as well, but they're gonna have an incredibly hard time hitting. And that brace for impact's a pain in the ass to try and hit. Those are also bad torpedoes, I need to point out.
Your orders?
Keep
Orders
firing, the
received.
lances will kill eventually.
Yes, Admiral. All ahead, full.
Almost there. I want to get in point blank range with these Cobras to make sure they have a high likeliness of hitting this thing. For if both the torpedoes hit, it kills this Gladius. Maybe the arc was bad. That was a really bad arc. Ooh, flew right into it still, but doesn't do me any favors when you block the shot.
Awaiting orders.
Keep an eye on these conveyors.
Your orders.
This is victory.
Setting course.
There's no way a frigate can kill a conveyor.
ready.
It's only my own stupidity that could do it at this point.
Underway.
So take our time and do this proper. And try and figure out how to hit this thing with torpedoes, which is going to be a tall order, isn't it? I at least still have the bombers, which are going to be amazing for chasing us down, to an extent. This is not going to go well. I'm sorry, Stasis, you're just delaying the inevitable. My lances are always going to hit you, so I'm thankful to bring these overlords out. Dictator could be the MVP if it gets the frigate still. Since it's turning, it's not moving away. Moment of truth. Actually, let's turn on the lightning strikes to help increase our chances of boarding this thing. Bombers, did you do what you need to? No, sadly you did not. Oh, and you had to run out of combustion gauge at a bad time too. Oh well, he's exhausted his resources. This is over. Run, but you can't hide. I don't think Stasis was rused because I messed up with my deployment of those two conveyors on the left. But thankfully, the void explosion has actually served as good fire ships at least. Not exactly how you want to use your conveyors, but it's a good constellation prize if they are split up and they're going very numbers attrition type base. Well, is that the proper term? Trying to brute force their way to a victory by sheer numbers? It worked out either way with the conveyors exploding on them, so there's always that benefit. It crippled like two of them single-handedly after all. But it was another win nonetheless. It was another win. I am thankful to Stasis for the matches. Sadly, I don't think I'm going to commit to any more battles, at least for the time being. At least I have a video to start working on after all, so I feel bad for him regardless, since I don't think Stasis is going to get any other opponents.